organisms that infiltrate our tissues and cells, but some of them are small ideas that infiltrate our brains. As this book goes to press, the news is dominated by two events that, by the lights of this book, align into a poetic coincidence. Within days of each other, the first safe and effective vaccine against COVID-19 was announced, and the winner of the 2020 American election became apparent. No one should savor this week more than Norman, because his book sent to press that week argues that it's the equivalent of a vaccine we must deploy if we are to keep future infections of bad ideas at bay. Steven Pinker, Johnstone Family Professor of Psychology, Harvard University, author of How the Mind Works and Enlightenment Now. Introduction. Tree of Life, Seeds of Death. Those who can make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities. Voltaire. I pulled open the glass outer door of the Tree of Life synagogue and went in to retrieve my son. It was a crisp fall day in Pittsburgh, and Kai, then about 4, attended daycare in the now infamous house of worship. Kai hugged his friends goodbye, took my hand, and we walked outside. By the curb sat the family car, my wife at the wheel. Kai liked the challenge of climbing up and into his car seat, so I waited as he made his ascent. He completed the maneuver and smiled up proudly. I buckled him in. "How was school, buddy?" I asked. "Good," he replied. "We met God." Heidi shot me an astonished look. I returned it and slid into the passenger seat. "Holy cow," I said. "Can we hear the story?" Kai was matter-of-fact. God came in, talked to his teacher, and gave him a high five. Then he left. "Really, Dad, it was no big deal." Later, we made inquiries, and his teacher told a different story. Apparently, the synagogue's bewhiskered rabbi had dropped in to say hello. His teacher introduced him as a man of God, and Kai, who knew God to be bearded, had connected the dots. Years later, a deranged ideologue named Robert Bowers parked his car where Heidi had parked ours. He got out, reached into his trunk, and pulled out a semi-automatic rifle. Then he threw open the synagogue's glass outer door, entered the sanctuary, and began shooting. People he'd never met began dying. Panicked congregants barricaded doors. Others phoned for help. Sirens wailed, and law enforcement scrambled to the scene. Screaming, "All Jews must die," Bowers turned his guns on the arriving officers. He wounded 2 and retreated into the very annex where my kids attended school. Within the hour, a SWAT team arrived. A firefight ensued, and Bowers took a bullet. Trapped and bleeding, he finally surrendered. Police took him into custody, and medics rushed in to tend victims. Sadly, 11 of my neighbors were beyond helping. It was the deadliest attack on Jews in America's history. Bowers was taken to a nearby hospital. There, he received care from incomparably better human beings, many of them Jews. I count myself lucky to have grown up in Squirrel Hill, the neighborhood where all this took place. Some say Squirrel Hill was the inspiration for Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, the nurturing fictional world created for public television. The show's gentle host, the late Fred Rogers, lived close by. Now our neighborhood, Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, is the site of a horrific hate crime. When Bowers began shooting, my family was out of harm's way. Kai's teacher and rabbinical God were also safe. They'd left the congregation years before. God himself? I have no idea where he was. I was mere blocks away, developing a vaccine for extremism. A plague of ideologies. We learn about tragedies like these, come together in grief, and resolve never again. Then, seeking remedies, we ask questions. How can people do such unspeakable things? We try to fathom the thinking behind such acts, find ourselves baffled, and label it unthinkable. Words like unthinkable serve to express our horror, but they also smack of denial. For evidently people do think such things. Some go so far as to plan them. Apparently, a sufficiently disordered mind can speak the unspeakable and find sense in the senseless.